The first week of April, also the second week of Batman v Superman's release, is turning into an eventful one. In this video, I'll talk about the second week in box office, why you should care about the box office, the Suicide Squad reshoots, and the two newly announced untitled DC movies. So Batman v Superman has, at the time of this recording, grossed more than $700 million worldwide. This is a pretty good number on its own, so you may wonder, why all the doom and gloom among the punditry? That's because the challenge facing it is that it's losing steam and dropping fast, which can only be interpreted as fairly bad word of mouth. It grossed $166 million in its opening weekend in the US, and $51.3 million in its second, which makes for a drop of 69.1%. Since Thursday numbers were included in last weekend's total, a big drop was expected anyway. Anything between a 58 to 62% drop would have been regarded as good, but there is a big difference between that and the 69% drop it ended up as, which is among the biggest second weekend drops ever seen in the genre. It's not quite as bad as the legendary 69.7% drop Ang Lee's Hulk suffered back in 2003, but it is right down there alongside X-Men Origins Wolverine and Josh Trank's Fantastic Four. What makes this worse though is that it not only cost more and had more riding on it than any of those, it had no competition. All of the others were released in the box office season, but Batman v Superman won't be facing off against any other major blockbusters for weeks yet. Depending on how it performs in the upcoming weeks, it might not catch up to Deadpool's box office domestically, and it might actually lose the weekend box office to Zootopia, which was released a month earlier, this or next week. It might still reach the $1 billion Warner wants it to make worldwide, but it looks increasingly likely that it will fall just short of that. Warner seems to be well aware of this, as they keep downgrading the figure of what they say it needs to make, a sure sign the movie is underperforming. Many might ask themselves, what's the big deal? Warner will still earn plenty on the movie when you factor in merchandise, TV rights and other related income. And this is true. Batman v Superman will still be profitable, but not as profitable as projected, and all the ancillary income streams will also come in lower when the movie they are based around is underperforming. Expectations are the problem here. When a movie and the entire upcoming fiscal year is being planned and budgeted, an expected return is projected, and this is what is pitched to the investors who actually pay for it all. They are not in it to break even, or to profit a little bit, but to maximize the return on their investment. If Batman v Superman, or indeed any other blockbuster, fails to yield the projected return on investment, the investors would have been better off investing their money elsewhere, which could make securing funding for future DC movies more difficult. Also, if large quantities of toys and t-shirts and everything else made on a license remains unsold because the movie didn't click, those license holders aren't going to be coming back later on. Worst of all though, is that the decidedly mixed, meaning rather negative, word of mouth is an indication that their chosen approach on how to do DC on film doesn't quite click with audiences. Through all of this, Warner is putting on a brave face. Warner told The Hollywood Reporter that, no matter how you slice it, to get to 52 million on any given weekend is an enormous accomplishment. We're most focused on where we are in total, and our global number is huge. This is pure spin, because behind closed doors, they are no doubt freaking out. Batman v Superman was itself a course correction to the underperformance of Man of Steel, which they actually flat out stated they expected to make $1 billion, and now they need to course correct again. It also looks like they are beginning that course correction even earlier than previously thought, with Suicide Squad. Birth Movie's death first reported about the Suicide Squad reshoots on March 31st. The article put quite the positive spin on the news. According to The Scoop, the most recent trailer, the one with the Queen song clearly inspired by the Guardians of the Galaxy trailers, has been met with an extremely positive response. Alas, this trailer apparently does not represent the movie, as every single funny moment of the movie was put into that trailer. According to The Scoop, Warner has okayed reshoots to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars to add more humor and lightness into the film. The author of The Scoop, Devin Faraci, hastens to add that they are not adding more jokes, but they are beefing up character moments and character interactions, and that these are great news. Sure, it could be great news. There is nothing inherently wrong about a movie doing reshoots, as reshoots or pickups, if anything, are the rule rather than the exception for these kind of movies. Reshoots made because they see in post-production that they need to beef up a plot point here or add some connective tissue there are always and without exception a good thing. If they have an already good movie on their hands with Suicide Squad, but could make it even better with some added character interactions and character moments, then great, we'll get a better movie for it. However, my worry is that these reshoots aren't motivated by the director and producers of Suicide Squad because they think it will lead to a better movie, but that they instead are mandated by Warner higher-ups and driven by despair over the lackluster reception to Batman v Superman. I've previously spoken about how studio executives have a tendency to learn the wrong messages. I wouldn't be surprised that of all the complaints about Batman v Superman, some of the higher-ups latched onto the perception that it is too dark and decided that is the ultimate reason for the backlash against it. Really upping the darkness would appear to have been a deliberate strategy employed by Warner for DC, probably in an effort to distinguish themselves from Marvel. Case in point, Suicide Squad director David Ayer only does dark movies, and during the production of Suicide Squad, which up until now has been marketed for its darkness, the director bragged that it was so dark they needed an on-set therapist. If the all darkness all the time strategy is under review at Warner, then I can see them being worried about Suicide Squad, as striking out yet again is the last thing they want to do. If these reshoots are indeed desperation-driven in a last-ditch effort to change Suicide Squad into something it is not and was never intended to be because of the backlash to Batman v Superman, then I think Warner are on a very slippery slope. I can't imagine director David Ayer being happy about it. Worst case scenario is that they reshoot new and lighter scenes, but unless they reshoot the entire movie, there could be tonal clashes between the original and newly reshot scenes, leaving us with an uneven finished product, which will be subject to new criticism on its own. But that is a worst case scenario. It might not play out that way. There are examples of extensive reshooting actually fixing a movie, as was the case with both X-Men First Class and World War Z, and this could end up like another one of those for all we know. However, I think the Suicide Squad situation is probably closer to what happened with Exorcist at the beginning. There, director Paul Schrader delivered an atmospheric movie, but not the jump scare-filled romp the studio was after. So they reshot more than half the movie with another director to change its tone and make it scarier, which didn't quite work out. When Paul Schrader's original version was released later as Dominion prequel to The Exorcist, the contrast between the two clearly demonstrated that the reshot theatrically released version was very much made by a committee and suffered for it. While the director's version of the movie is widely considered the superior of the two, Schrader's vision and approach of subverting what came before still wasn't what fans of the original Exorcist wanted or expected. Neither version is held in particularly high regard, but in retrospect, the studio would have been better off sticking with what they had to begin with, which they themselves eventually admitted. But what Warner does deserve credit for is that even in the face of opposition, they carry on full steam ahead. Today, on March 6th, they announced two as of yet untitled DC films for release on October 6th, 2017 and November 1st, 2019. Also, they did the very smart move of moving Wonder Woman away from Transformers 5 by moving it up 3 weeks to June 2nd, 2017. We'll keep you posted as we learn more, but until then, what do you think? What are these untitled mystery DC movies? And are the Suicide Squad reshoots meant to make the movie a little bit better, or a sign of desperation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to Midnight's Edge for more analysis on studio politics and mini-documentaries.